Good morning, classmates. Today I will be covering the Gettysburg Address, the second inaugural address, and Abraham Lincoln, the author of both these speeches. First, I'm going to tell you about Honest Abe. So, Abraham Lincoln was the 16th President of the United States. He was a successful lawyer and politician in Illinois before ever being the President of the United States. He was born February 12, 1809, in Kentucky. He married Mary Todd Lincoln and was the commanding chief during the Civil War for the Union. He played a major role in the passage of the 13th Amendment, which would end slavery in America as you know today. And of course, he wrote the Gettysburg Address and the second inaugural address. And he was also the very first president to ever be assassinated, which was on April 15th, 1865, at a theater in D.C. So, Abraham Lincoln gave his speech almost 5 months after the battle at Gettysburg. But you have to remember that the Civil War was going on during this time, and the Battle of Gettysburg was just one of the most gruesome and bloodiest battles in it, along with an extreme number of casualties, which totaled to 52,000 roughly. This was a huge turning point in the Civil War for the Union. The Confederates lost almost 37% of all their men, while the Union had only lost 28%. Also, this battle was 100% an accident. Groups from both sides had bumped into each other and started gunfire at Gettysburg. Eventually, the sound of shots being fired attracted more and more soldiers, therefore starting the Battle of Gettysburg. And here are some pictures of some Civil War drawings and pictures and, stuff like that. When Abraham Lincoln gave his speech, it was in honor of those that had fallen at the Battle of Gettysburg. In his speech, he says, "We are met on the great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that the nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this." The final resting place of all the soldiers that fought is the battlefield. It's called Gettysburg Memorial today. And although in the beginning of his very short speech, he mentions that the principles of which the nation were founded upon are in danger, because the principle was that all men are created equal. And during this time, African Americans, blacks, whatever you like to call them, were not being treated equally. The Civil War was all about the abolishment of slavery and how the Confederates wanted slaves and the Union wanted it abolished. In the next phrase, he says, "Now we are so engaged in a great Civil War, testing whether that nation, or any nation, so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure." He basically challenges the principles of this nation that it was founded upon, and he tries to motivate his army and the people of the Union to win this war now and not later, because it is very important during that time. And now you can see today that African Americans are free finally, and that slavery is abolished. And from this battle, it turned the war around, and the Union went on to start winning the war. His success in the war would gain him more voters from the North. If it weren't for his army voting for him, and the fact that the Confederates were chased out of Shenandoah Valley, which caused an uprising of happiness in the North, that they voted for him. Not to mention that the third party in the election dropped out of the presidential race. All of this helped Abraham Lincoln get his second term in office, which was most likely not going to happen if none of this had happened. And of course, after elected in presidential status, he gave a speech, and this was the second time around, being voted in, so he kept it short and direct. In his speech, he recognized a sad tragedy in America, which was started by the Civil War, not to mention that the Civil War was only days away from coming to an end. So Lincoln's speech was given March 4th, 1865. It was delivered to about 30 to 40,000 people that day, and it was mainly about the struggles that America went through, conflict about human rights and how slavery was wrong, and how we need to abolish it then and there. He was calling for mutual forgiveness by the Union and the Confederates as the Civil War drew to a close, and wants to work on rebuilding the United States of America from there. He also talks about how slavery was the cause of this war and that it needs to come to an end so that we, the people of the United States, can work on a better future for ourselves.